What if everything you see, hear, and feel isn't real? What if space, time, and even the solid ground beneath your feet are nothing more than a projection, an illusion so convincing that you never stop to question it? This might sound like science fiction, but some of the most brilliant minds in physics are now proposing something radical. The universe itself may be a hologram. Think about a movie playing on a screen. The characters, the scenery, the action, it all seems rich and three-dimensional. But at its core, it's just patterns of light encoded on a flat surface. Now imagine that instead of just a movie, everything you experience, your body, the stars, even time itself, is simply an intricate projection from a deeper, hidden layer of reality. It's a theory that merges black hole physics with quantum mechanics, but it's also an idea that has echoed for centuries in ancient philosophy. If it's true, it changes everything. Were we really? Where does consciousness fit into all of this? And if reality is an illusion, then what happens when we wake up? Because the deeper we go, the stranger things get. The deeper we look into the fabric of reality, the stranger it becomes. The holographic principle suggests something so radical, so counterintuitive, that it challenges everything we think we know about space, time, and even our own existence. Imagine a universe where everything, every star, every galaxy, even your own body and mind, is nothing more than a projection from a two-dimensional surface. This isn't science fiction. Some of the most groundbreaking discoveries in physics suggest that our three-dimensional world may actually be a hologram, an illusion emerging from information encoded on a distant, cosmic boundary. The idea comes from black hole physics. In the 1970s, physicist Jacob Bekenstein discovered something puzzling. When matter falls into a black hole, its information doesn't disappear into the void. Instead, it seems to be stored on the black hole's event horizon, a two-dimensional surface. Later, Stephen Hawking's work on black hole radiation suggested that information might never be lost, just scrambled in ways we don't yet understand. If information can be stored this way on a black hole's surface, then what about the universe itself? Could everything we see, every event we experience, be a projection from a deeper layer of reality? This leads to unsettling questions. If our reality is just encoded information, do we actually have free will, or are we following a script written into the fabric of spacetime? Could consciousness itself be part of the projection, emerging from a cosmic program we can't perceive? And if everything we experience is just an illusion, who or what is the observer outside the hologram? Imagine a black hole, a cosmic abyss so powerful that nothing, not even light, can escape its grasp. A place where reality itself breaks down, where time stretches to infinity, and where everything that crosses the event horizon is lost forever? Or is it? In the 1970s, Stephen Hawking made a shocking discovery: black holes aren't completely black. They slowly evaporate over time, releasing what's now called Hawking radiation. But this led to an even bigger mystery. What happens to the information trapped inside? Physics has an unbreakable rule: information cannot be destroyed. Every particle, every atom that falls into a black hole carries information about its state. And yet, if black holes eventually vanish, then where does all that information go? For decades, this was known as the information paradox, a problem so deep it threatened to shatter our understanding of the universe. But then, physicists stumbled upon something strange. The way information behaves in black holes looks eerily similar to something else: a hologram. Some scientists now believe that black holes don't destroy information, they just encode it onto their event horizon, like a 2D surface storing a 3D reality. If true, this would mean black holes aren't just cosmic vacuum cleaners. They're holographic projectors, and they might be the key to understanding something even bigger. What if our entire universe is working the same way? Because if the laws of physics allow information to be stored holographically at the edge of a black hole, then maybe the universe itself is just information projected from the edges of something even deeper. In the 1980s, physicist Stephen Hawking posed a troubling paradox, one that threatened to unravel everything we thought we knew about the universe. His work on black holes suggested that when something falls in, its information is lost forever. But in physics, information is supposed to be eternal. If Hawking was right, the fundamental laws of the universe were broken. One man refused to accept that. Leonard Susskind, a theoretical physicist, spent years battling Hawking's idea. He argued that information isn't lost, it's stored on the event horizon, the outer boundary of a black hole. But this led to a shocking realization. If a black hole can store information in 2 dimensions while projecting a 3-dimensional reality inside, then what if the entire universe works the same way? This was the birth of the holographic principle. Susskind's idea meant that everything we see, everything we touch, even our own consciousness, could be a holographic projection from a deeper, 2-dimensional layer of reality. The implications were staggering. If our universe is like a hologram, then space itself isn't what we think it is. Reality isn't what we think it is. And if the information that makes up everything we are exists beyond the world we experience, does that mean our very existence is just a reflection of something far greater? Picture a world that looks nothing like our own. A universe with an edge where space bends inward like the surface of a sphere. This is anti-de Sitter space, a strange, hypothetical universe where gravity behaves differently than in our familiar cosmos. But what if this bizarre, curved reality holds the key to understanding our own universe's hidden nature? In 1997, theoretical physicist Juan Meldacena made a groundbreaking discovery. He found that in an anti-de Sitter universe, everything that happens inside its 3D space could be fully described by a lower dimensional theory on its boundary. This became known as ADS/CFT duality, a mind-bending idea that space-time itself isn't fundamental. Instead, it might emerge from something deeper, something encoded in a completely different way, like a hologram. Imagine a video game. Everything inside the game world, characters, landscapes, physics, seems real from within. But in truth, it's all stored as lines of code on a flat computer chip. Now apply that same logic to the universe itself. Could everything we see, feel, and experience, even time itself, be a projection from a deeper layer of information? The implications are staggering. It suggests that what we perceive as reality isn't the true fabric of existence. It's just the way our minds interpret a deeper mathematical structure. But if space-time emerges from information, then what's generating that information? And more importantly, who or what is running the code? For centuries, we believed the universe was made of tiny, indivisible particles, atoms, quarks, strings. But what if everything we know, space, time, matter, isn't made of things at all? What if, at the deepest level, reality is nothing more than information? This is the radical shift happening in modern physics. Some of the world's greatest thinkers, from John Wheeler to Stephen Wolfram, believe that the universe isn't a collection of particles, but a vast computational system, a cosmic hard drive processing information at the most fundamental level. Think about a video game. The mountains, rivers, and cities inside it aren't real objects. They're digital instructions, bits of information processed by a computer. Now imagine our entire universe working the same way. Physicist John Wheeler coined the phrase, "it from bit," suggesting that all of physical reality emerges from raw information, like a simulation running on some cosmic processor. If this is true, then the fabric of space-time itself isn't solid, but an evolving code, constantly updating with every interaction. But here's the mind-bending part. If the universe is a hard drive, who or what is doing the computing? And if everything, including our consciousness, is just data, does that mean we could one day learn to reprogram reality itself? You've heard it before, the idea that reality might not be real. That everything we see, everything we touch, is nothing more than an elaborate simulation. But what if there's another explanation, one that doesn't require a cosmic programmer but instead suggests that our universe is a hologram projected from a deeper layer of reality? At first glance, the simulation hypothesis and the holographic principle might sound like the same thing. After all, both suggest that what we experience as physical reality is an illusion, something generated by a hidden source. But the difference lies in who or what is creating the illusion. The simulation hypothesis, popularized by philosopher Nick Bostrom, suggests that an advanced civilization, perhaps even one of our own future descendants, created an artificial universe. In this theory, everything we experience is just a digital program running on some ultra-advanced computer. The holographic principle, on the other hand, isn't about artificiality, it's about fundamental physics. It suggests that our universe emerges from a lower-dimensional information structure, like a hologram projected into 3 dimensions. Instead of being created by a civilization, reality itself may naturally encode information the same way a black hole does on its surface. But here's where things get even stranger. If the universe is holographic, what role does consciousness play? Some physicists speculate that we are not separate from the code, we are part of it. Does that mean our thoughts, our emotions, even our sense of self, are part of the same projection? And if so, who or what is doing the observing? Time, the one thing we all experience, yet barely understand. It feels like an unstoppable force, dragging us from past to future, moment by moment. But if the holographic principle is correct, then time itself might not be fundamental at all. In a true hologram, depth is an illusion. A 3D image is encoded onto a flat, lower-dimensional surface, and only when light interacts with it does depth appear. Now apply that idea to time. What if past, present, and future already exist, but our consciousness, our perception, renders them one frame at a time? This idea isn't just theoretical. Einstein's relativity already shows us that time isn't absolute. It stretches and bends, depending on gravity and motion. But if time were truly fundamental, it wouldn't behave this way. Some physicists now argue that time might be an emergent property, just like depth in a hologram. In other words, it's not real in itself, it's a byproduct of something deeper. But if that's true, then what happens when we die? Does consciousness move outside of time? Could this explain strange déjà vu experiences, moments that feel like echoes of something already written? If time is an illusion, then the biggest question of all emerges. Are we already living in every possible moment right now? You wake up in the morning. You open your eyes. You look around, and everything feels solid, real. But what if your consciousness isn't actually experiencing the world directly? What if it's just decoding a projection, like a character in a video game believing they are inside a real world, when in fact, they exist inside a program? If the holographic principle is correct, then everything, space, time, even the matter that makes up our bodies, may be nothing more than encoded information on a distant surface. But that raises a disturbing question. What is consciousness actually interacting with? The strange thing is, physics itself suggests that the act of observation affects reality. The double-slit experiment showed that particles exist in multiple states until they are observed. In other words, something about consciousness seems to collapse reality into a single form. But if consciousness isn't just decoding reality, but actually shaping it, then what does that mean? Some physicists believe the mind itself is not a product of the brain, but an extension of the deeper, hidden reality from which everything is projected. Could that mean our awareness exists outside of space and time? And if reality is just information, who or what is actually receiving it? Imagine trying to find a memory. Where is it stored? In a file? A specific location in the brain? Neuroscientist Carl Pribram didn't think so. He believed that memory doesn't work like a computer at all. Instead, he proposed something radical. The brain itself might be holographic. Unlike a traditional storage system, a hologram distributes information across the entire structure. If you cut a holographic image in half, each piece still contains the whole image, just at a lower resolution. This is exactly what happens in the brain. No single neuron holds a memory. If part of the brain is damaged, memories don't disappear entirely, they just become blurry, fragmented. But if the brain is a hologram, what does that mean for perception, awareness, and even consciousness? Could this explain why intuition exists? Why we sometimes just know things without logical reasoning? Could déjà vu be a glitch in the holographic processing of time, where moments overlap? And if our brain is a holographic processor, does that mean we're tapping into a larger holographic field of reality itself? This theory doesn't just change how we see the brain. It raises the most unsettling question of all. If our mind is a hologram, then what is it projecting? Two particles, born from the same event, are separated by light years of empty space. And yet, the moment you interact with one, the other reacts instantly. This is quantum entanglement, one of the strangest phenomena in physics. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance because no signal, no force, no interaction should be able to travel that fast, faster than the speed of light. And yet it happens. But what if this isn't action at a distance at all? What if these particles were never truly separate in the first place? According to the holographic principle, our universe is not what it appears to be. Everything we experience may be encoded on a distant surface, a vast cosmic blueprint that contains every interaction, every movement, every possibility all at once. In this view, entanglement isn't a paradox. It simply means that what we see as space between objects might not be real. It's like watching two characters in a video game, one on the left side of the screen, the other on the right. To them, they seem far apart, but to the computer running the simulation, they are just lines of code, stored side by side. If holography explains entanglement, then what about you? Could your mind, your consciousness, your very sense of self, be entangled with something beyond what we perceive as space and time? And if everything is fundamentally connected, is individuality just an illusion? Look at a tree, a river, the structure of your lungs. Now look at a galaxy, a neuron, the branching patterns of lightning. Do you notice something strange? These patterns repeat again and again at different scales. This is the essence of fractals, structures that look the same whether you zoom in or out. But what if the entire universe follows this rule? Some physicists propose a fractal holographic universe, where reality isn't just a projection, but an infinite self-replicating pattern embedded within itself. True, this would mean galaxies and brain neurons follow the same hidden structure. The smallest quantum scales are mirrors of the largest cosmic scales. Space-time itself may not be smooth, but an intricate, repeating pattern that emerges from deeper laws. And the implications go even further. If the universe is a fractal hologram, then reality isn't just a projection. It's a projection that scales infinitely, both up and down. Could this explain why we see structure everywhere, from DNA to galaxy clusters? Does this mean the entire universe is conscious at every level? And if patterns are infinite, then could time itself be repeating? The deeper we look, the more reality seems to fold in on itself. So the real question isn't just whether we're in a hologram, but whether we're in an infinite hologram, one that never ends. A person dies on the operating table. Their heart stops. Their brain flatlines. And yet, when they are revived, they remember everything. They describe floating outside their body, watching the doctor's work. They recall conversations, medical procedures, things they should have been completely unaware of. But it doesn't stop there. Some report seeing their entire life replayed, not just as memories, but as if they were reliving each moment, feeling the emotions of everyone they ever affected. And then a light, a sense of infinite knowledge, an overwhelming realization. Reality is not what it seemed. Near-death experiences, NDEs, have fascinated scientists and philosophers for centuries. Are they just hallucinations of a dying brain, or glimpses into a deeper truth? Some researchers believe NDEs align perfectly with the holographic universe theory. In a hologram, information is never truly lost. Every moment, every experience, everything remains encoded in the fabric of reality. Could the life review be the mind accessing this stored information, not as a memory, but as a complete, immersive replay? And what about those who claim to see beyond the physical world? If reality is a projection, could death be simply stepping outside the simulation? Perhaps consciousness is not confined to the body at all. Perhaps what we call the end is nothing more than waking up. What if the greatest minds of ancient history had already uncovered the truth, that reality as we experience it is nothing more than a projection? Long before modern physics, mystical traditions around the world described existence as an illusion, a veil that conceals a deeper, hidden truth. In Hinduism, the concept of Maya teaches that what we perceive is a false representation of reality, just shadows on the wall of a deeper, unknowable existence. In Buddhism, the mind is said to shape the world around us, much like an observer collapsing a quantum wave function. And in Hermetic philosophy, the phrase, "as above, so below," eerily mirrors the idea that our universe might be a fractal hologram, where patterns repeat at every scale. But the most striking example? Plato's allegory of the cave. Imagine prisoners, chained inside a cave, forced to stare at shadows on a wall. The shadows are all they know, a reality dictated by illusions. Now, imagine one prisoner breaking free, escaping the cave, stepping into the light, and realizing that everything they once believed was false. Is this not exactly what science is now revealing? What if our senses are just interpreting a coded projection, a shadow cast by a deeper, hidden reality? Could the mystics, philosophers, and sages of the past have already glimpsed what quantum physicists are only beginning to suspect? And if they were right all along, then what else do we still have left to uncover? You wake up. You make choices. What to eat, where to go, what to say. You feel in control, as if your decisions are yours and yours alone. But what if they aren't? What if every thought, every action, every possibility was already encoded, like lines of code in a program? In a holographic universe, all the information that defines reality exists on a distant 2D boundary. The entire universe, including you, is simply a projection of that information. So, if everything is already written in this cosmic code, do we actually have free will? Or are we just watching a story unfold, one that's already been decided? Some physicists argue that in a holographic universe, time itself doesn't really flow. Past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, meaning your choices were always going to happen the way they did. But what if that's only part of the story? If reality is a projection, then what or who is projecting it? Some researchers believe consciousness itself plays a role in shaping the hologram, that we are not just passive observers, but active participants, altering the code of reality with every decision we make. If this is true, then free will isn't an illusion. It's the mechanism through which we rewrite the universe itself. So the question isn't whether we have free will. The question is, what will you do with it? Have you ever experienced déjà vu, that eerie sensation that you've lived this exact moment before? Or stumbled upon a Mandela effect, a memory so vivid, yet completely at odds with reality? Maybe you've witnessed a bizarre synchronicity, A coincidence so impossible it defies all logic. Most would dismiss these as tricks of the mind. But what if there's something more? What if these glitches, in reality, are cracks in the simulation? If our universe is a holographic projection, then perhaps it isn't as stable as we think. In computing, when data is rewritten or a system refreshes, errors occur, artifacts left behind from previous states. What if déjà vu isn't just a feeling, but a glimpse of a previous version of reality? A moment that was changed, yet somehow still lingers. And the Mandela effect. Why do so many people vividly remember events that history says never happened? Could these be remnants of an altered timeline, a subtle rewrite in the holographic code of our universe? And what about synchronicities, those impossible coincidences that feel too intentional to be random? Carl Jung believed they were glimpses into a deeper, interconnected reality. But in a holographic universe, could they be evidence that all things are linked by the same fundamental layer of information? If our memories exist outside the physical brain, embedded in a higher dimensional space, then what does that mean for the nature of reality itself? Are these glitches hints that our world is not as real as it seems? Or are they breadcrumbs leading us toward a greater truth, one hidden beneath the surface of what we call existence? You stand at a crossroads, about to make a choice. Left or right, coffee or stay or leave. In one version of reality, you turn left. In another, you turn right. But what if both choices exist at once, not just in theory, but as actual realities? Quantum mechanics suggests that every possible outcome of a decision happens somewhere. Some physicists believe these alternate possibilities don't just vanish, they branch off into parallel universes. But where are these alternate realities stored? The holographic principle suggests that all information about the universe is encoded on a lower dimensional surface. If our universe is just a 3D projection of this deeper information, then what about parallel universes? Could they be other projections of the same cosmic film strip, just different frames, playing out alternate realities? Some theories go even further. They suggest that parallel universes aren't distant or separate at all. They're right here, just outside our perception. If that's the case, then shifting timelines isn't about traveling through space, it's about shifting focus. If reality is a projection, could consciousness be the lens that determines what version we see? And if so, can we learn to adjust the focus? For centuries, reality was thought to be simple, a solid, tangible world made of particles and forces. But modern physics has uncovered something far stranger. If the holographic principle is true, then everything we see, every galaxy, every atom, even our own consciousness, may be encoded on a distant 2D surface. So how do we prove it? Physicists are searching for holographic imprints left behind in the cosmic microwave background, CMB, the afterglow of the Big Bang. If our universe is a projection, its earliest moments should contain patterns, tiny inconsistencies in the fabric of space-time, revealing the presence of a deeper informational structure. The upcoming Laser Interferometer Space Antenna, LISA, will scan the universe for gravitational waves, which may carry hidden holographic signatures. And beyond that, what if future technology allows us to decode the holographic field directly? Imagine tapping into the fundamental layer of reality, where every moment, every thought, and every possibility exists as pure information. Could we one day read and manipulate this data, rewriting reality itself? If the universe is a cosmic projection, then the search for its source may be the key to unlocking everything, from the nature of consciousness to the deepest mysteries of existence itself. You reach out and touch the world around you, solid, tangible, undeniable. But is it? What if everything you see, everything you feel, is just a projection, a shadow cast by something deeper, something we can't perceive? Science tells us that space, time, and matter may not be as real as they seem. If the holographic principle is correct, the physical world is just encoded information, projected from a two-dimensional surface. But then, what is actually real? Are we part of a vast computational process, where reality emerges like an image on a screen? Could we be flickers of consciousness inside a higher dimensional being's imagination? Philosophers have pondered this for centuries. Plato described reality as shadows on a cave wall. Eastern traditions have long suggested the world is Maya, an illusion. Now, modern physics is beginning to whisper the same thing. If space is an illusion, if time is an illusion, if even matter is just encoded data, then what's left? Maybe reality isn't a thing at all. Maybe it's a question, a riddle with no answer. Or maybe, just maybe, the only real thing is you. Some claim to see ghosts, experience déjà vu, or even communicate through telepathy. For centuries, these phenomena were dismissed as superstition. But what if there's something deeper, glitches in the very fabric of reality? If our universe is a holographic projection, then information isn't just stored in the present, it could be imprinted across all of time. Could paranormal encounters be echoes of past or future events, bleeding through the structure of reality? Take hauntings, for example. Some reports suggest ghosts aren't conscious spirits but residual imprints, moments of extreme emotion frozen in space-time, replaying like echoes in the cosmic hologram. What about telepathy? If the brain functions holographically, as some scientists propose, could consciousness itself be part of a shared field, one where thoughts aren't confined to individual minds? Experiments in quantum entanglement suggest that information can travel instantaneously across vast distances. Could this same mechanism explain why people sometimes experience unspoken connections, premonitions, or synchronicities? If reality itself is an informational structure, then what we call paranormal events may not be supernatural at all. They may simply be evidence that our world is more than just matter and space. If the holographic principle is true, then the mysteries of the unseen might not be illusions. They may be glimpses into the hidden layers of reality itself. Throughout history, mystics, sages, and visionaries have spoken of a cosmic library, a vast archive where every thought, action, and event is eternally recorded. They call it the Akashic Records, a place where past, present, and future exist at once. A database outside of space and time. But what if this isn't just spiritual folklore? In modern physics, the holographic principle suggests that all information in the universe is encoded on a two-dimensional boundary, a cosmic ledger where reality itself is stored. Could the Akashic Records and this holographic information layer be describing the same thing? Some claim that deep meditation, altered states of consciousness, or even certain individuals can access this database, retrieving knowledge, memories, and insights that defy explanation. If reality is a projection, if the past and future are already written, then is it possible that some minds have learned to read between the lines? Or are we all connected to this cosmic archive, unknowingly pulling data from the fabric of existence itself? You remember something one way, but the world insists it was never that way at all. The Mandela effect, named after thousands who mistakenly recalled Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s, raises a chilling question. What if reality itself is shifting? Some believe it's just faulty memory, tricks played by the brain. But what if our memories aren't stored inside our brains at all? The holographic universe theory suggests that all information exists non-locally, encoded across the very fabric of space-time. If that's true, then what happens when the code of reality updates? Could reality be constantly rewriting itself, like a computer program making silent adjustments in the background? Take the Berenstain Bears controversy. Millions recall it as Berenstein with an E, but no evidence of that spelling exists. Then there's movie lines that never happened, like Darth Vader's, "Luke, I am your father," which was never spoken that way. Some believe these anomalies aren't mistakes, they're glitches in the hologram. Could we be unknowingly shifting between slightly different versions of reality? Are we slipping into parallel timelines where the details have changed just enough to notice? And if our reality isn't stable, what does that mean for the future? If the holographic universe renders reality in real time, then the next glitch could be much bigger than just a misremembered detail. Across ancient cultures, geometry was more than just mathematics. It was a sacred language. The flower of life, Metatron's cube, the Fibonacci sequence, and fractals appear in everything from Egyptian temples to Hindu mandalas to medieval cathedrals. But some believe these patterns aren't just art, they are clues. A hidden code embedded into nature, revealing the structure of reality itself. Modern physics tells us that the universe is fundamentally informational. The holographic principle suggests that our entire 3D reality is a projection of encoded data on a lower dimensional surface. And in that projection, we see fractals. Repeating patterns in galaxies, DNA, the growth of plants, scaling infinitely like a cosmic fingerprint. Could sacred geometry be an ancient attempt to describe what physicists are just now discovering? If the universe is a hologram, then what equation, shape, or pattern governs the illusion? And if everything is connected through geometric harmony, what does that make us? We only see 5% of the universe. The rest? It's a mystery. Physicists call it dark energy and dark matter, the unseen forces shaping galaxies and accelerating cosmic expansion. But what if these forces aren't physical at all? The holographic principle suggests that reality is a projection, a 3D illusion encoded in a 2D surface. Could dark matter and dark energy be part of the holographic data structure, something beyond our ability to perceive? Dark matter acts like an invisible web, holding galaxies together. But what if we're only seeing the shadows of a higher dimensional reality? Dark energy pushes the universe apart, an unknown force expanding space itself. But what if space isn't expanding at all? What if our holographic projection is simply shifting? Some physicists believe that holography could explain everything we can't see. What if dark energy and dark matter aren't missing? What if they exist outside the limits of our perception? And if the universe is a hologram, what else is hidden in the code? DNA is often described as the blueprint of life, a molecule that encodes genetic instructions. But what if it's more than that? Some researchers propose a radical idea that DNA is not just a molecule, but an antenna, a biological receiver that interacts with a larger, unseen field of quantum information. In quantum mechanics, particles can be entangled across vast distances, sharing information instantly. If the holographic principle is true, if all reality is a projection from a deeper layer of information, then is it possible that our DNA is tuned into this hidden field? Studies suggest that DNA emits and absorbs electromagnetic waves, acting like a biological circuit. Some even claim that certain frequencies can alter genetic expression, raising the question: could DNA be a bridge between matter and mind? If the holographic universe encodes all past, present, and future possibilities, does that mean our very biology is entangled with the cosmos itself? And if so, what does that make us? Quantum physics presents a troubling idea. Reality isn't set until we look at it. At the smallest scales, particles exist in multiple states. Until measured, then they choose a definite state. But what if this applies not just to tiny particles, but to everything? Some physicists suggest that reality itself is rendered on demand, like pixels appearing on a screen only when you turn your head in a video game. Could the universe function like a holographic projection, waiting for an observer to make sense of it? If so, then what happens when no one is looking? Is the world still there when we close our eyes? Or does it fade into an undetermined potential? And if consciousness collapses reality into existence, then the biggest question remains: are we simply experiencing the universe? Or are we creating it? For centuries, mystics and spiritual traditions have claimed that separation is an illusion, that beneath the surface, everything is one. But what if this ancient wisdom isn't just metaphorical, but scientifically true? The holographic model suggests that all of reality may be encoded in a single, unified field of information. If true, this means that every person, every atom, and every thought is fundamentally connected. Quantum entanglement already reveals that particles can share an instant connection across vast distances, suggesting that division is merely an illusion of perspective. If consciousness is part of the hologram, then what happens when we step beyond it? Many who experience deep meditation, near-death experiences, or altered states report a profound dissolution of self, a realization that they are not separate from the universe, but woven into its very fabric. Could enlightenment be the moment we awaken from the projection, seeing reality not as fragmented, but as one vast, unified mind? And if so, who or what is doing the dreaming? If reality is a projection, what happens when we die? Some scientists and philosophers believe that consciousness isn't just inside the brain, but part of a larger, non-local field. Near-death experiences, NDEs, describe a strange detachment from time and space, as if stepping beyond the simulation itself. Reincarnation cases suggest that memories persist beyond a single lifetime, as if consciousness isn't bound to one physical form. Could this mean that death is not an end, but simply a transition? A shift from the holographic projection back into the deeper reality it originates from? If our universe is like a vast, interconnected information field, then perhaps nothing is ever truly lost. Not even us. If reality is nothing more than a holographic projection, then the real question isn't just what it is, but whether we can change it. Some researchers believe that our thoughts, emotions, and intentions are not passive, but active forces shaping the projection itself. If the universe is information, then consciousness may be the key to rewriting the code. Throughout history, mystics, shamans, and spiritual teachers have spoken of techniques to transcend normal perception through meditation, visualization, and altered states. Modern science is only beginning to explore this idea. Studies on the placebo effect, quantum consciousness, and the Global Consciousness Project suggest that focused intention might influence reality in ways we don't yet understand. Could practices like lucid dreaming, remote viewing, or deep meditation be ways to access the deeper layers of the hologram? And if we learn to interact with the source code of reality, what does that make us? Are we merely players in the hologram? Or have we been the creators all along? If everything we experience, every object, every sensation, even our own bodies, is just a projection, then what is actually real? Some physicists argue that matter doesn't truly exist. It's just information structured into patterns by the laws of physics. Quantum mechanics suggests that particles don't have definite properties until they're observed, as if they are just data points waiting to be rendered. Even our own consciousness might be interacting with a field of pure information rather than a solid physical world. If this is true, then reality is not built from atoms and molecules, but from something even stranger. A universe where nothing is truly physical, only patterns of energy structured by an unseen code. If the universe is a holographic projection, then why do we experience it as so vividly real? Why does fire burn? Why does pain hurt? Why do we feel the rush of love, fear, or joy so intensely, if everything is just encoded information? Some physicists suggest that our senses don't detect true reality, they only interpret the holographic data around us. Just as a virtual reality headset tricks the brain into believing in a digital world, our nervous system decodes the holographic field into a solid experience. Pain, temperature, and emotions may not be fundamental forces, but rather biological programs ensuring survival inside the simulation. But what happens when those programs are disrupted? In altered states of consciousness, whether through meditation, deep hypnosis, near-death experiences, or psychedelics, people often report that pain disappears and physical sensations fade. Some even describe stepping outside the projection entirely, witnessing a reality that is pure thought, pure energy. Could this mean that sensation itself is part of the illusion? And if we learn to override it, what happens next? What if the universe isn't just a projection, but a mind? Some physicists and philosophers suggest that consciousness isn't inside us, we are inside it. If reality is holographic, could it be a thought, an idea, a dream of something greater? Ancient spiritual traditions have long hinted at this. The universe as a vast intelligence, a self-aware being, experiencing itself through us. Could this explain why we feel intuition, déjà vu, or an unexplainable connection to something beyond? If the universe is alive, then every atom, every star, and every thought could be part of one vast, unified consciousness. And if that's true, who are we really? Imagine a world where space and time are not fundamental, but mere constructs of human perception. Some physicists propose that space-time itself is an illusion, an emergent phenomenon rather than an absolute framework. Instead of space being a vast emptiness that stretches across the cosmos, it might simply be the way our minds organize relationships between particles. If this is true, then what does it mean for our sense of existence? Could we be everywhere at once, but only perceive ourselves as confined to a single place and moment? The strange implications of this theory suggest that movement, distance, and even time itself may be nothing more than projections of a deeper, more fundamental reality. Quantum mechanics offers tantalizing hints that support this idea. When two entangled particles interact, they seem to influence each other instantaneously, without any regard for the concept of space between them. If space were truly real, how could information travel between them faster than the speed of light? Some researchers believe that our conscious experience is what forces reality to take on the shape of space and time. Perhaps, just like a video game world that only loads the parts you're looking at, space-time only renders itself in response to our perception. But if space is an illusion, what else might we be misunderstanding about the nature of existence? If reality is just a projection, what happens when we die? Do we simply vanish, or do we reappear somewhere else, in another version of existence? Some researchers studying past life memories have found cases that seem to defy normal time progression. Children recalling details of lives in eras they were never born into. People describing places they've never visited but somehow remember. If consciousness isn't bound to a single timeline, could it be jumping between different holographic worlds? What if death isn't an end, but a transition, a movement between different layers of reality? The idea of reincarnation has existed for thousands of years, but what if it's not just spiritual belief? Could the holographic nature of the universe mean that consciousness isn't tied to a single body, a single life, or even a single timeline? And if this is true, have we already lived this moment before? Every night, we close our eyes and drift into a world that feels just as real as waking life. But what if dreams are not just fabrications of the subconscious, but glimpses into other holographic realities? Could it be that, as we sleep, our minds are tuning into different layers of existence, tapping into an unseen quantum network beyond time and space? Some scientists believe that dreams may involve quantum cognition, the idea that the brain is not just processing stored memories, but accessing non-local information embedded in a larger field of consciousness. This would mean that dreams are not merely random neural firings, but portals to other dimensions of reality. Throughout history, countless individuals have reported prophetic dreams, experiences of meeting deceased loved ones, or even visiting unfamiliar worlds with stunning clarity. If our universe is a hologram, could these dreamscapes be alternate projections, versions of reality that exist parallel to our own? Lucid dreaming, the ability to become aware within a dream and consciously control it, raises even more intriguing questions. When we realize we are dreaming, we can manipulate the dream world at will, altering landscapes, defying physics, even manifesting objects with pure thought. But if we can control the illusion inside a dream, what does that say about the nature of reality itself? Could mastering lucid dreaming be the first step in breaking free from the projection? And if we can wake up inside a dream, could we one day wake up from the grand illusion we call reality? Many people vividly recall events, logos, and historical facts that supposedly never happened. The Berenstain Bears were once spelled Berenstein. The Monopoly Man had a monocle, and Nelson Mandela died in prison, except he didn't. These aren't just faulty memories. They are collective experiences shared by thousands, if not millions, of people. This phenomenon has been called the Mandela effect. But what if it's more than just a trick of the mind? Could the Mandela effect be evidence that we are shifting between slightly different holographic projections of reality? If the universe is a vast quantum system, constantly updating itself, is it possible that consciousness moves between different versions of the simulation without us realizing it? Some researchers believe that the holographic nature of reality allows for multiple overlapping timelines, each slightly different from the next. What we experience as memory glitches may actually be remnants of past realities we once inhabited before shifting to a new one. Quantum physics has already demonstrated that particles can exist in multiple states at once and only settle into a definite reality when observed. If consciousness plays a role in shaping reality, could it also be responsible for shifting us between parallel versions of history? And if these shifts are happening, what's causing them? Are we unconsciously guiding ourselves to new realities based on our beliefs and perceptions? Or is some unknown force rewriting the script of our existence, leaving only scattered remnants of the past as clues that we've been somewhere else? Déjà vu, that strange, fleeting sensation of having lived a moment before. It comes without warning, walking down a street you've never been on, hearing someone say a sentence that feels eerily familiar, or stepping into a room that feels like a memory instead of the present. It vanishes as quickly as it arrives, leaving only one question behind. What just happened? Science tells us déjà vu is just a misfiring of the brain, neurons misprocessing information, making a new experience feel like an old one. But what if it's something more? What if déjà vu isn't just a glitch in our memory, but a glitch in reality itself? Some believe déjà vu could be evidence that we are shifting between parallel timelines, momentarily syncing with a slightly different version of ourselves who has already lived this moment. If our universe is a holographic projection, could déjà vu be a brief overlap, an echo of a different path we could have taken? And then there's the simulation hypothesis. If reality is a vast computational program, could déjà vu be a rendering error? A moment when the system accidentally loads a piece of data twice? Some researchers speculate that our brains act like biological processors, decoding the holographic information of the universe. If that's true, then déjà vu could be a sign that the code itself is glitching. But here's where it gets even stranger. Some people report déjà vu tied to dreams, moments they swear they've seen before, not in waking life, but in sleep. Could dreams be glimpses into alternate timelines, and déjà vu the moment when two realities briefly align? Maybe déjà vu isn't just a trick of the mind. Maybe it's a crack in the illusion of time, a brief moment where we catch a glimpse of something we weren't meant to see. If we could understand it, could we learn to control it? And if déjà vu is a glitch, then the real question is, who or what is running the program? You think of someone you haven't spoken to in years, then they suddenly call you. You repeatedly see the same number everywhere you go. A song plays on the radio that perfectly matches your thoughts at that moment. These aren't just coincidences. They feel charged with meaning, as if reality itself is responding to you. Carl Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, the idea that meaningful coincidences are not random, but signs of a deeper, hidden order beneath reality. He suggested that the external world and our inner thoughts are mysteriously linked, as if reality itself were a mirror reflecting our consciousness. But what if synchronicities are more than just psychological illusions? What if they are glimpses into the holographic nature of reality, moments when the underlying fabric of existence briefly reveals itself? Quantum entanglement has already proven that particles can remain mysteriously connected, no matter how far apart they are. Could synchronicities be the macroscopic version of this quantum connection, linking events, people, and thoughts across time and space? Some researchers believe that the universe functions like a vast information network, where everything is encoded beyond the limits of space and time. If reality is holographic, then every part of the universe contains the whole, meaning that your thoughts, emotions, and experiences may not be isolated but are part of a vast cosmic web, subtly influencing and interacting with the external world. Could synchronicities be signs that our minds are momentarily piercing the illusion of separation, showing us that everything is deeply interconnected? And if that's true, are we unknowingly shaping reality itself every time we notice them? Dark matter. It makes up most of the universe, yet we can't see it, touch it, or interact with it in any way. It doesn't emit light, doesn't absorb radiation, and remains invisible to all our instruments. And yet, its presence is undeniable. Galaxies spin faster than they should, cosmic structures hold together in ways that defy physics. Something unseen is exerting a gravitational pull on the universe. But what is it? The standard explanation? Dark matter is a mysterious, unseen form of mass, some exotic particle that simply doesn't interact with light. But what if the truth is stranger than that? What if dark matter isn't missing, but instead exists in a different layer of reality? Imagine our universe as a hologram projected from a deeper, multidimensional field. What if dark matter is part of that field, a structure just beyond our perception? Could it be that we only see the illuminated side of the hologram, while dark matter exists in a hidden layer, shaping reality without ever revealing itself? Some physicists propose that dark matter might be interacting with our world through extra dimensions. If our universe is a 3D projection of a higher dimensional space, could dark matter exist in that unseen space, exerting its influence across the veil? And what about dark energy, the force pushing the universe apart? Could it be the other side of the same equation, the stretching of the hologram itself? If the holographic model is correct, then everything we perceive as reality is just a limited slice of a much larger, more complex structure. Dark matter and dark energy might not be separate, mysterious forces, but instead evidence that our reality is only one side of something far greater. What happens if we find a way to peer beyond the hologram? Could we uncover the missing pieces of the cosmos, the hidden architecture of the universe itself? And if dark matter is just the shadow of a deeper reality, what else is hiding there, waiting to be discovered? Look at the universe. Vast filaments of galaxies stretch across the cosmos, forming a cosmic web, a structure so immense it resembles the neural connections inside the human brain. Coincidence? Or a hidden pattern? Some scientists believe that consciousness itself could be structured the same way. That each mind is not isolated, but part of a greater, interconnected intelligence. Think of the internet. Each device is an individual node, but all are connected in an invisible network. What if consciousness works the same way? Some theories suggest that the brain is not producing consciousness. It's receiving it like a radio picking up signals. Could our thoughts, emotions, and even experiences be part of a larger field of intelligence, one that spans beyond our individual minds? If true, this could explain why people report telepathic experiences or unexplained intuition. Why ideas seem to appear in multiple minds at once, as if downloaded from the same source. Why deep meditation or altered states sometimes create the feeling of merging with something vast and infinite. If consciousness is a network, then what happens when we disconnect? And more importantly, who or what is running the system? In the quantum world, reality is not fixed. It exists in multiple possibilities at once. A particle isn't in one place or another until it is observed. This is the observer effect, one of the strangest discoveries in physics. But what if this doesn't just apply to tiny particles? What if our entire reality works the same way? Some physicists believe that consciousness itself might play a role in shaping the universe. That our focus, our awareness, our choices determine which version of reality we experience. Think about it. Out of infinite possibilities, why does one specific outcome happen? Why do some people seem to attract opportunities while others experience constant setbacks? Could our thoughts and expectations be collapsing reality into one path over another? If the universe is a hologram, and if reality exists as a superposition of possibilities, then what happens when you shift your focus? Are you choosing which version of reality to step into? And if so, how much control do we actually have? Can reality be changed just by understanding it? Throughout history, mystics and spiritual teachers have claimed that enlightenment isn't just about knowledge, it's about transformation. That once you truly see the illusion, you are no longer bound by it. Could the same apply to the holographic nature of the universe? Some believe that consciousness plays an active role in shaping reality. That those who fully grasp this concept may be able to influence the projection itself. Perhaps this explains why some individuals seem to manifest their desires effortlessly while others struggle. Is the hologram rigid, or is it fluid, changing based on the awareness of the observer? And if reality is nothing more than encoded information, could the mind itself be the key to rewriting it? For thousands of years, ancient civilizations whispered a secret. Reality is not what it seems. The Hindus called it Maya, the grand illusion. Plato spoke of a cave where shadows on the wall tricked prisoners into believing they saw the real world. Egyptian mystics and mystery schools hinted at a hidden structure beneath the surface of existence. But were these just metaphors? Or did they know something deeper? Some researchers believe that ancient temples, sacred geometry, and lost texts may contain clues about the holographic nature of the universe. That these civilizations, without modern physics, somehow understood what scientists are only now beginning to suspect. Did they leave behind a blueprint for how to escape the illusion? And if they did, have we lost the key, or is it hiding in plain sight? If reality is a hologram, just a projection of deeper information, then what happens when we die? For centuries, religions and spiritual traditions have claimed that consciousness is eternal. That death is not an end, but a transition. Now, some physicists are saying something eerily similar. Quantum immortality is the idea that in a multiverse, you never actually experience your own death. If reality splits into countless versions, then in at least one of them, you always continue existing. Think about Schrödinger's cat, the thought experiment where a cat in a box is both alive and dead until observed. But what if the same applies to us? What if, in the grand web of quantum possibilities, there is always a version of you that survives? Some near-death experiences describe a strange sense of continuity, as if the person never truly left. Others recall waking up from an accident, feeling as though reality itself had shifted. Could it be that we are constantly moving between different holographic states? And if consciousness is not just inside the brain, but part of something larger. Does it ever truly fade away?